please welcome our guest from Cincinnati, Pamela, to the Fireside Chat.
I appreciate that wonderful introduction. I appreciate that.
Our mother of six from Cincinnati, Pamela, what do you currently do?
So right now, I'm actually finishing up some business classes for my entrepreneur program. I completed the first portion. Now I'm in business 2, and then in May, the last week of May, I start my home inspection course, and that goes through July. So I'm planning to become a home inspector by August, once I test out of that. And I also, I found Ruby a Head Start program. So she will be going back to preschool here next week. So I'm excited about that. And they are also gonna let me work at the preschool as well. So, and I volunteer on Fridays at the local pantry.
So you do some of everything.
Yes.
I love that.
Yes.
You mentioned Ruby. I was going to wait a little bit longer to ask, but let's go ahead and get into your family. Tell us about Ruby and tell us about the 6 children, not the 4.
Okay. So I have 6 total. My oldest is 27. I have a 4-year-old, 9-year-old, 22 and 23-year-old girls, and my 21 and my 27-year-old are boys, or men, I should say, and women. My oldest 3 are out of the house. Michael actually went to Job Corps, and that didn't work for him, so he came back, and he's here off and on with myself, Mia, and Ruby. Mia is 9, Ruby is 4, and I mean, we're very close. For the most part, I see all my kids every day. My daughter, I have one daughter that lives about 8 minutes away. My other daughter lives like 2 streets over, her and her fiance. So I feel very blessed, very fortunate to be able to not only have 6 kids and survive raising them alone. Some of the things that I didn't do correctly, it comes out in your children. So I've been able to identify some of the things that I didn't necessarily see within myself that were like incorrect, and how it transferred into their lives. And now, they have battles. And so as I learn and grow, I just teach my kids a different way to do things, because I wasn't necessarily shown the right way to do things. So I made a lot of mistakes and put myself, behind in a lot of ways. So it's been a challenge, but I love how they love on each other. They're supportive of each other. And things, I've grown a lot and they've grown with me.
Is there anything that you've learned that you are making sure you're teaching and having those conversations with your younger kids that you don't necessarily know with your older ones?
Oh, my communication skills. Because what I learned about myself was I took some of the traumas from my childhood, and as I did some research on my brain and how I thought, how my thinking patterns were. Because like I said, I started to see things in my children that I didn't necessarily want to see, but I know they came from me. So I had to do the work because I didn't want them to spend 20, 30 years, thinking the same way, or, even making the choices, budgeting, that's a big one, making budgets, sticking to it, eating healthier, because to be honest, I was hungry often. So I kept like change, or if I could keep change, I would always try to keep like enough money to get a little Debbie or something like that. So from that trauma, my kids suffered because I developed like this addiction to groceries, or grocery shopping, I should say. And luckily, like they never, I never had like being a single parent. I didn't have like some of the struggles that some other parents had, but I still had some very deep struggles. Like I knew how to go to work. I worked in corporate America. I knew how to grocery shop, but I didn't know how to budget. Honestly, my finances scare me. It used to scare me, and I would just like spend everything I had, and just take this money, to get me through to the next week or next 2 weeks. So just trying to transfer the knowledge of, keeping a budget, staying on track, thinking about your future with every choice you make, being wiser in your choices because um, the people that you attach yourself to can also, uplift you or bring you down. So it's been a lot of changes that I saw within myself that I had to explain to my children, like, this is why this happened.
It's clear that you like the person that you are now, and you like the decisions that you're making now. And so I'd love to highlight that, and I definitely want to talk about that. But I think it's also important to know, and for everyone to know what your story was
Oh, yeah.
maybe 3 years ago, 4 years ago. So could you share your story there?
Oh, yes. So in 2019, I was employed as an office assistant at a galvanizing plant. And I was terminated after coming back from FMLA. And there were some things that happened prior to me taking my leave that I think resulted in them firing me. But because they fired me and I was actually in a program and in position within 6 months to purchase buy my house, I started to get I started to get angry. No, I didn't say I started, I got angry. I basically because at the time I was making decent money. Um, I was able to pay all my bills. I had some stuff in savings. I had all my children's medical, life insurance, vision, and I mean, all six of them at this point were under my medical insurance, my life insurance. So everything was covered. I was just more self-sufficient. And I think I had daycare was like the only subsidy that I needed. So when that happened, I had to shift and go all the way back to living life on everything subsidized. And it did something to my self-esteem. It took it was a blow. It was a major blow to my self-esteem. And so from that experience, I started going to a food pantry here. And the food pantry actually had a women's empowerment class that we did a workshop off of the Getting Ahead series. And what I learned through that is a lot of my core things that I needed, I didn't have. And if I did have those or did have an idea of what those things were, they were incorrect. So for example, with my oldest son, when I had him, something told me, like in my head, I told myself, I said, I think I should be married. So because my environment was mostly like single moms, and my sister at this point had a child and she was not married, I remember playing this in my head, and I said, well, she's not married and she had a baby, so it must be fine. But as time went on, I knew I wanted to be a married woman. And I didn't realize that that was a core value. And in one of these classes, because after I completed the women's empowerment class, I went on to a class that was offered at my church called Thrive to Strive. And it basically addressed budgeting, eating healthier, I want to say childhood traumas. We didn't get into like those details, but it touched on everything that could possibly be affecting your right now. And to, because I'm not in a place of being self-sufficient, and that's important to me. So coming out of being fired and then moving in the direction of taking care of myself was what I needed to do, because I was always surviving. I wasn't living, I wasn't getting ahead. And it was just a cycle. I was going, if I needed a job, I would go to a temp service. So that means that the temp service would be paying me a portion of what they're getting paid. So I just felt like, and I did that for at least 10 years. So I just felt like it was time to take care of myself. And then I didn't feel guilty about it, because years prior, I felt guilty about, putting myself first. But then I had to get this education behind me to say, hey, if you're not taking care of yourself, how are you going to be able to take care of other people? And that's what I had to realize. I was draining myself, surviving, and not even taking the time to take care of myself. And I mean, mentally addressing that trauma from childhood, educating myself, making better choices as far as eating better, having healthier relationships, only being in relationships with people that are healthy for me, or at least positive, and just eliminating those things that are negative, whether it be food, relationships, communication. I had to stand up for myself, basically, and take another route.
And when you were so focused on just trying to survive, did you have any room to think about what it would take to move up?
My main thing is keeping my house clean and orderly, keeping groceries to a point where if the world shuts down, and see, that's the thing, like the way my mind worked 20 years ago, like this, when the pandemic hit, I already had those habits in place. Like I always had a fear of germs. And like I worked at Children's Hospital in like 2000, the early 2000s. And I worked at the registration desk, and I would literally go in the elevator, wipe the elevator down, the elevator buttons, the pins, everything. And people used to laugh at me. They used to, like I'm the compulsive cleaner person. And now it's like, oh, that's why you did that. But that's why I said, like, another thing I should probably tell you all. So my parents, I was born into a chaotic situation anyway, but my dad would have been 101 this year. So my parents are a lot older. My mom would have been almost 90. So I was born into like, not only a chaotic situation, but my parents were a lot older. My mother was like 43 when she had me. So, and my father was 55. So I don't know. And that was another thing that I had to try to do research on, was trying to see how those genes transfer. Because I was ostracized from my family because I'm so sensitive. I'm so emotional. And then I just got put into a category of being different because I always wanted a better life. And when you asked about staying in that mode of survival, my mode was always cook, clean, make sure the kids have, what they need, shoes, clothes, and it just, that was my main focus. And sometimes every now and again, a dream or a vision would pop into my head and say, wouldn't it be nice to live like this? Or wouldn't it be nice if you graduated from college? Or wouldn't it be nice if you had a husband that was supportive and loving? So those type of things popped into my head, but though I didn't have time for those things. Like it's constant survival.
What would you say popped that bubble? When you had those thoughts, those dreams, those positive thoughts and dreams, what interrupted those? What shut those down?
Bills, lack of support, lack of, I didn't think that I could. with being a business owner or becoming an entrepreneur, I didn't think that I had the credit, the mental ability. I didn't have like I always wanted to work for myself. I actually had a cleaning business a number of years ago, and I liked that freedom in it. But I also had another job that I knew had to pay me. So it's like being an entrepreneur, people can pick or choose you or someone else, but going to somebody and working for them for 8 hours a day, they have to pay you. So it was like, even if I wanted to step out and become an entrepreneur, I always still had to have that main job that I knew had to pay me. And that was always that survival thing. And then with that shift of me being unemployed or laid out or fired 3 years ago, and the way that worked, it was just like one class opened after another class, and I just started to see things like, first and foremost, I have to give honor and praise to God because He's kept me like without a job for all these years. And yeah, I've got unemployment, but it took months to get that, and then the child tax credit. But I'm still used to getting, in my mind, I get paid every week or every 2 weeks, getting paid like, monthly and all that. I didn't want to go back to that lifestyle, but it's what I had to do to make sure I had income. And even growing right now, I was still in survival mode, but I know now that in order for me to come out of survival mode and get out of this, the core level of maintaining my mental health is maintaining my self-care, building positive relationships, and building like a network of people that believe in me, because I didn't have a support system as a child of people saying, oh, well, you can do this, you can do that. As a teenager, as a young person, I was just trying to eat. I was just trying to make sure I had food to eat. And then like 17, I'm a teenager, but I'm working because I started working at like 15, 16. So at that point, my mom's older. So then I started taking care of my mom. And at the same time, I'm taking care of my sister, her children. I'm taking care of my siblings if they need help. And then fast forward like 3 or 4 years late, 2 years later, I get my own relationship. 2 years after that, we have our own son. So it was like, since I've been young, I want to say 10, I've been taking care of other people. I've been taking care of my nieces and my nephews, my sisters, my brothers. And then, because I had a good job, I worked in corporate America, back then. And because we got laid off in the early 2000s, once I lost that, then it was like I kind of lost my family. I lost like friends, like I lost people that I thought would be encouraging to me. When I started going to these classes, and like, I don't know if you all have ever seen that pyramid. It's like the food pyramid, but it's like a mental health pyramid. And without this bottom foundation, and that's like your family support system, somebody like pouring into you, like, you are beautiful, you are loved, you are this, you are that. I didn't have that. The reality shows of today, I saw walking the streets back then. So that's what gave me the connection. Like, I want to be pretty. I want to have nice clothes. And I didn't realize it back then because I'm only like maybe 11 or 12. And you would think I would know that, but I didn't. But then if you walk up the street, because we lived on Vine Street, it was very rough down there, very rough. But if you walked up a couple blocks, you were in the business district. So sometimes, we would go shop in a business district, and I would just be like, wow, I want to be down here. I want to dress like them. I want to be in this world. So it was kind of like, I had this world and I had this world, and they were on the same street. So I can toggle, from this way of life to that way of life. But I think being in survival mode, I just, and not having those people around me to say, hey, here's the way out, or this is a better way to do things, or, I had to figure it out, and I had to figure it out on my own in my middle 40s. So I'm trying to just teach my kids, like, no, learn this in your 20s, so that, your later will be greater. You know, and I'm still thankful that I'm learning it now, because to be honest, I'm teaching my siblings that are all older than me a new way to think. So this is not just for me, it's for not and my children, it's for my family.
Pam, let's get into how you became connected with UpTogether.
So initially during the first the women's empowerment group, during our last class, they had a presenter there, and she left us a brochure and with her name and information on it. When we finished the class, like, you have to understand, I was still in survival mode. I still had these teachings and everything, but I needed more. And like the whole class was still in a place where, like, because it was a 10-week class and we met once a week. So it was like, so what do we do now? Like, you know, I still needed more guidance and direction, because like I had good information from there, but I needed more. So she came in as a way to continue our education. So we were all advised to contact, it was FII at the time. So we contacted them, and then COVID happened, and then I just kept emailing people, honestly, like because I had people in the group that were waiting for me. Like, they were waiting for the connections, because bless you, there were like maybe 2 other women in there, and we all wanted to join together, because at the time it was like a group thing. So a couple people fell off, but there were people that were like, they couldn't stay on it because some of these people were working and stuff like that. So I just kind of stayed on top of it, and I was giving them the information that they needed, or, you know, I couldn't get. So I was the person that was kind of left to assemble this group for FII.
What did the funds do for you? How did they impact you?
Oh my gosh. So multiple things. It's helped me pay off past due bills. It's helped me buy groceries. It's helped me. One time I got it, my daughter actually was moving, so she needed some things, you know, once she moved. So I was able to help her, you know, get some stuff to help her move. It's been a tremendous help, and it's even this. I took a portion of it, the last one I got, and I had to put it with the money for my home inspection course. So it's helped in multiple ways, not just with me, but like I said, it helps my children. I mean, paying bills, hygiene products, you know, I've gone to wash, you know, laundry is a big thing for me, you know, and I spend a lot of money, you know, going to the laundry, because I have daughters that, you know, they like to dress up and not necessarily stay clean. So, you know, they're kids. I can't, you know, I like to say, you know, one outfit a day, but that's not their reality. So it's helped me in a multitude of ways. And I mean, I thank God every day, all day for everything, but that's just a super blessing on top of everything else.
I want to go back to you saying you used some of the funds for the home inspection course. What made you make that a priority in your decision on using those funds?
Because I have to look at my long term. Because getting my home inspector certificate, that'll open the door for me to not only make my own schedule, because that's part of the reason why I don't have full-time employment, because Ruby is 4. So because I don't have a job and I don't have employment, I can't get like the vouchers to get her in school. And when I tried to get her in Head Start, they only had certain spots for people that don't have vouchers or no any income or whatever. So I have to wait for a spot. So I've been waiting for a spot for a year now. And even before, when I was working, if we have like stomach issues, so say she would go on to school and she would have diarrhea, I would have to pick her up. She would be out of school. You can't take her back for 24 hours. So getting my home inspection certificate it'll open the door not only for me to be able to make my own schedule, but the money that I can make, it'll be double the money that I've ever made in my life. So it'll be a way out of poverty for me and my family. And then, you know, because home ownership is critical for me. Just, because I've not only been homeless as a child, I've been homeless as an adult three times, 3 or 4 times, I think. And 2 of those times were with my kids. So, leaving an inheritance to them, not only money, but property, good communication, healthy relationships, everything that I'm learning, to make wiser choices, I'm teaching them as I go. Because one thing I learned in my entrepreneur class was I was reactive. I wasn't responsive. And being a business owner, I can't react to a person, say I miss something, or something happens that was not supposed to happen. I need to be able to keep it together in here so much as to, okay, I need to make this right. And that's the thing. I know I have that ability because I go to work and I'm awesome. I'm an awesome employee. So why couldn't I do that for myself? So I had to learn to just stop reacting. But you have to understand, A, I'm in survival mode. B, that's all I've kind of seen my whole life was people reacting. People don't communicate where I'm from, especially like in my family. Nobody communicated. We shut down or we fought. I mean, it wasn't healthy. So being exposed to these things, it's a way out of poverty for me. And long term, because the income expectations, like I said, they double, what I've made in a year's time. And if need be, I can make my own schedule with as little or as much work as I can handle. And, I'm just excited to see what happens. And from there, now the way I think is, so now I can once I get this income, I can open up my own laundromat, with like a kids play area. That's another one of my business ideas. So I'm just, getting in position to get around the right people that will pull those things out of me versus, smothering those.
Awesome ideas. And I agree. You are awesome.
Oh, bless you. Thank you.
I'd love to turn the floor over to some of my teammates. You have any questions for Pam?
So I'm curious how your family has responded to this change in you. And I'm curious if you've tried to bring them along and be like, here, look at the light, join me here. Or if you've just been like, you know what I'm saying? This is my journey and it's okay that you stay over there and I can love you the way that I need to love you.
That's a good question. So the siblings I grew up with, there were 6 of us, but I'm the baby of them. So being the baby, I was the first one to graduate from high school, the first one to get my driver's license. I was the first one to basically say, I don't want to stay in subsidized housing. Even if I'm in here, I'm gonna probably not stay here long. And you get the reputation, oh, you're bougie. And I was just like, nah, I just don't want to bring my kids up in that environment, especially with boys, because they didn't have, their dad wasn't involved. So, and it was like I reached out to my brothers to get, some help with, helping me raise them. I reached out to, their uncles. Nobody was willing to help me. So I had to get counseling for years. Like I said, I had to go to counseling because I love my family. I took so much pride in having my family, as a kid, because they're my older siblings. So they were like my superheroes. So fast forward, so I lose my job. I feel like I lose my respect. Like nobody checks on us. Like when we go homeless, nobody calls to check on us, any of that. So I kind of just, I started, that was another reason for me to just start getting angry. So I started this women's empowerment class once I lost my job. But by now, I had pretty much severed all the relationships with all my family. Fast forward, when I started taking these women empowerment classes, I would teach my daughters. I'm telling my daughters what I'm learning because I definitely don't want them trapped by the wrong man. And that was because that's one of my downfalls is I have 6 kids with 3 different fathers. My oldest son's father, I met him, I was 17. We broke up, I was like 24. And we had our one son, but he's never taken care of him like financially, like on a continual basis. The next 3, I had a baby with a man, no help. Like even, it's no help. And then my last 2, I did it again. So I saw the pattern that I was creating for myself. And I chose to tell my daughters, like, this is not what you do. So I've been teaching my daughters and my sons, first and foremost, how to be better communicators, even with them, because like I said, I transferred a lot of my emotional stuff into them, boy and girl. So they have to walk with that, and they have to figure out how to walk with that and cleanse themselves of that. But that's one of the things that I talk to my kids about now is being responsive versus reactive. So here, fast forward, I go to my women's class. I'm telling everybody about it, as many people as I can tell, and then I go to this Strive to Thrive class. That's through the Vineyard Church. Now, this class is specifically designed to end generational poverty. So poverty is, I'll say, thick within my family tree, my family, whatever. It's because we were born from chaos. So it's just a lot of chaos. So I expected things from my family they didn't have. That's what I had to learn. Like, so when I got in the Strive to Thrive class, my oldest sister joined me in the class. My sister is not as open as I am. She is a very private person. She is not emotional. Like, we can't relate when it comes to crying. Like, I get on her nerves when I start to cry. She did try it. And she actually went to the school to get her GED. So last year, not only did she get her GED, but she got she got weight loss surgery. So, and she healed herself of diabetes. So I'm so proud of my sister, but I didn't realize that they needed help too. They needed exactly what I needed too. I couldn't get from them what I thought they had for me because they didn't have it. And that's why I had to just sit back and just ask God, like, or thank God, because he brought me out of some stuff, because everybody I expected to be there for me wasn't. And it wasn't because they didn't want to be there. It was because they didn't have it to be there for me. So sometimes, what I'm experiencing is I'm trying to get out of here. For a minute, I was holding grudges, like, how could y'all leave me and my kids out there homeless and this and that and other? But it all added to my character and building me up to become who I am now. Because I wouldn't be an advocate for homelessness if I never was homeless. Like, I could tell you all day long about what this person should do and that person should do. If you've never walked in my shoes, you can't grasp what I'm thinking on a daily basis. If you have a person that's in poverty that was raped as a 3 or 4-year-old, that thing always replays. It always replays. Not to say that happened to me, but I'm just saying, since I've started this journey, people are coming to me. So you have to just respect where people are, and then just respect where they came from, whether you know where they come from or not. Like I don't want to be considered bougie in my own community, and somebody miss an opportunity to become healthier. Like, and people already know my character. Don't come around me with no violence, no negativity, because I don't have a mental capacity to take any of that. I will calmly explain where I'm at, and I'm gonna leave, because that's not good for me. That's not good for my spirit. And I'm just in a different place. So you got to just let your family be. I mean, I had to let my family be, and then they come to me.
Thank you for those questions. And thank you, Pam, for sharing. Your story has so many different layers and levels to it that we could be here all day, but I know I promised that I would carve out some time for you to ask us some questions. So please, the floor is yours. Please ask away.
I just wanted to say, this has been a wonderful opportunity. Like I said, I like even the name UpTogether. it rings, it rings true for me simply because I know the value of people coming together. And I was in that survival mode. You're isolated, you're alone. And um, when you stay isolated, you you don't get as much knowledge as you get from being in a community. And that's the thing, Up Together provides a community. And like I said, none of this would be possible. This change that you see would not be possible. I would have probably broken down 6 or 7 times by now if I hadn't taken these classes. So this not only in our actual communities, but the platform Up Together, the only way for us to come out of any hole we're in, whether it be a pandemic, poverty, or anything, we're gonna have to learn from each other, and we're gonna have to grow from each other, and just respect where everybody's coming from, where everybody is. And I'm willing to help in any way, shape, form that I can. I want to advocate for the homeless. I want to advocate, for hunger, because I have those lived experiences, and even self-worth. Men and women. At this rate, kids are killing themselves. It's a lot going on in the world. So we definitely need this platform, as a community, and just to have conversations, because that's the only way we're going to learn, to do better for our future generations, because enough is enough.
Just thank you so much for just being vulnerable, being open, and sharing it. See, we made it through the whole thing, and you said you're emotional. We didn't get any tears, so that's good.
And one of the things I wanted to say, the questions, people will definitely underestimate my growth, because like I said, I isolated for years. I'm talking in like 15 years. All I did was work, come home, clean, cook, nothing. So this is a great opportunity for me to help end poverty. One person at a time, and I'm starting with me. So I'm whatever you need from me, just let me know.
Thank you so much, Pam. I know you said you wanted to be an open door to escaping poverty, and I think this story today, you just agreeing to be a guest on the Fireside Chat is the first step of many. So we really appreciate that, and thank you for your time today.
Thank you for having me. Thank you all for being here.
Are there any other areas where you feel like we need to revisit and push for changes to make this experience for you and others much smoother?
I think one of the hardest things is, like I mentioned, I've been disabled since I was 33, and when they base that your amount that you get per month off of what you made in your lifetime, I think that that's very hurtful to somebody that gets disabled at a young age. You know, they don't look at the fact that you didn't have very many years to work. You didn't have very many years to put into that. So that is a huge policy that I think needs to be looked at differently, as well as, you know, everybody basically gets the same amount, and they don't look at that everybody's finances are very different. I know that there are, you know, some elderly people that live in a 1-bedroom apartment, you know, and this does cover them, but this is not something that I think they look at for somebody who has a family, somebody who is still taking care of other people, somebody who I don't just have myself to care for. You know, I think that amount would be okay if I was by myself, you know, and I just had a little efficiency, and I was, you know, just having to do for me. But I do still have children that I have to take care of. I do still have other people that I have to care for. And I don't think that they think about any of that.